This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. The schedule of the meeting is on file at the Borough Clerk's office, was posted on the bulletin board, and has been mailed to the local source and the Star Ledger. Can everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call?
Shelkey?
Here.
David?
Here.
Capari?
Here.
Grimaldi?
Here.
Cantina?
Cantina?
Mondowdy? Here. Colello?
Here.
Mazzio?
Here.
And Jones?
Here. All right, we have a quorum to proceed. First item up is approval of the July 12th. I make a motion. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Capari. Second. Second by Mr. Shilkey. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Any communications?
I don't think it.
Okay, we have no communications. We have two resolutions this evening. The first one is for application number 371, which was a minor site plan approval, East Coast Emergency Lighting. Okay, so I guess we need a motion to...
Make a motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Grimaldi, I heard you. I guess,
Sure.
Mr. Rego, only those members
who
actually voted
for the relief. I recall it was unanimous. So whoever
was here and
voted
Mr.
for
Grimaldi
this
was here.
right, are eligible.
Capari was here.
Okay, Mr. Capari was here, so we have a motion and a second, and we'll take a roll call.
All right.
Shelkey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Capari?
Here. Yes.
Grimaldi?
Yes.
Cantina?
Yes.
Colello?
Yes.
And Mazzio?
I'm beginning to wonder.
Okay, resolution passed. Is anyone for the applicant here this evening? Okay, this will make them aware of the fact that it's been memorialized. Next item is was the County of Union for Gallopin Hill Golf Course. Again, do we have a motion to, well,
I don't know that we...
yeah, I was just going to say, we don't actually approve this one, right? Or
Well,
do
it's not an approval, it's just to memorialize our recommendations.
I see.
We recommended, I think that they build a wall and that they comply with whatever.
Right.
Compliance with the recommendations. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't.
Right.
But, so it would be to memorialize our recommendations.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, you had your hand up.
I have not seen that resolution. There's a good reason why. However, I've been in touch with the county requesting their update, because if you remember, Mr. Giordano, who was in charge of the county automotive facilities, said that they would consider what we had to say and then they would make the decision.
Okay.
I heard from the engineer and from Mr. Giordano on this about a week and a half ago. And just earlier this week, they sent me another plan, which I not had a chance to take a look at. It takes me a few days to get to my work. So I would ask respectfully that the resolution be held up so that I can report back to the board as to what they have actually decided to do. But I would do that pending Mr. Rego's approval, suggestion, comment, and whether that's necessary for the resolution or not.
If the board wants to see what the county plans are, and if it's not going to be doable until next month, you can carry this, or, again, this is strictly our recommendations. We recommended that they comply with Harbor Consultants' comments and construct a wall above the, around the above-ground tank. It's on page 2, Kevin. Whatever makes you comfortable. I think the board can do either way. We can keep this moving. Even if they don't do what we're recommending, they're still going to do it. So it's...
Yeah, I mean, it's the board's pleasure, so I'll wait to hear what the rest of the board thinks. But in my opinion, I would move it along.
Okay.
Obviously, they're not required to do our recommendations. I have an interest as a board member in seeing if they made any of our recommendations.
And I think Kevin should, I think there should be a spot on the next agenda, maybe where Kevin gives a quick report as to whether they've done, what they've done, if anything.
That would
Okay.
close the loop down.
Yes.
So does anybody on the board object to us proceeding in that fashion? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep. So, I forgot where we are. Do we need a motion?
To memorialize?
To
Memorialize the
memorialize the recommendations, yes, thank you.
I'll make such motion.
Okay. So I have a motion by Mr. Grimaldi, second by Mr. Mantina. Roll call.
Shilkey,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Capari,
Yes.
Grimaldi,
Yes.
Cantina,
Yes.
Colillo,
Yes.
and Mazzio.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item up is under new business, and we have first up application number 370, which is a minor site plan for Plastpak Inc., 30 Borough Avenue, Block 6, Lot 4. Do we have representation? We do.
Yes, good for you.
Are we good on notice and publication?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
No notice is required, it's a minor.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just so used to saying.
Helen just saying.
That's why she's really good on it.
I just say it automatically.
Meredith Marcus on behalf of the applicant, I have two witnesses tonight. We have Edek. I did clear with Mr. Rago and Mr. O'Brien that it was okay because Casey Teller did the site plan, and Mike Lanzaprama is away, and his partner's away, and everybody's away, and thank you all for changing your vacation schedule to be here. So Edek is going to be here to introduce the minor site plan and provide testimony to that fact, and the applicant is also here. I believe the board is going to have a lot of questions, so I probably will limit my questions to him and allow you to ask questions of him when Mr. Deck is finished with his testimony. But I will be very quick. This is a minor site plan to install an overhead door at the facility. Plastpak is a tenant of a larger building. They own they rent just one space in there. They actually rent it from Copac, so they're kind of a subtenant. And their operations are recyclable. They recycle corrugated plastic. So Mr. Greenfeld can explain that to you further. Plastpak needed this door to move in a large piece of equipment. And that was how this started, and it's taking up a couple parking spaces, so we relocated those parking spaces. There's no other changes in the dimensions and any other bulk dimensions on the site. So with that, I will introduce Mr. Deck.
Mr. Deck, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes,
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Edward, no initial last name, Deck, DEC.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Deck, can you give us the benefit of your background, expertise, and tell us that your license is current?
I think my license is current, I'll start with that. I'm
Chairman, Mr. Deck has appeared before this board on countless occasions. He states his license is still current. The board may wish to consider that as a qualification.
Thank you. And my office is right down the street if you ever want to come visit.
I'm very familiar with Mr. Deck.
We're here on the application for 30 Borough Avenue, Lot 4, Block 6. The site is approximately 5.2 acres, quite large, and occupied by a building of about 1/4 of that area and other impervious coverage for another 1/4, so about half, or a little bit more than half, almost 70% of the site is covered with the building and impervious coverage. The site, as the attorney stated, is a minor site plan because of a new door that's being proposed. Now, the plan that I have, and I believe every member of the board has, is last revised June 28th, 2018. And what that plan shows, as far as proposed improvements, is in the northeast corner of the site. It's on the left-hand corner of the page, and you can see where the proposed doorway is shown to be installed, which it is already, and the elimination of 3 parking stalls and the creation for future parking of additional 5 stalls in the area just to the northeast corner of the building. The reason for the door was to accommodate the machinery that was being brought into the site. They couldn't bring it in any other way, so they had to open the doorway up, and instead of closing it up since they are a tenant, in case they leave, they would have to do the same thing, break down the wall and move it out. So they're putting in a garage door. It's not a quote-unquote loading dock, but they will be using that as an ingress egress point for pedestrian and other forklift type traffic, but it's not quote-unquote made for purposes of a loading dock. It was really there for the accommodation of bringing the equipment.
Mr. Deck, question for you. What was the date that you said were on the most recently revised plans?
I said 6/28, but I have my glasses on, 6/26. So the right-hand side of the revision box, that's the most recent date.
Oh, I see, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
And the applicant is asking for the approval, place that in there into the building because of the reconstruction to the building itself. And also on the site plan, as you can see, there is an area of no parking that accommodates for the trucks to come in, do a K-turn, pull into the area, and pull out again. So there's not going to be any interference either with our new location. Again, it's not really meant for truck loading and unloading, but for the other existing loading docks, which are the 2 larger ones, to the right of the jog in the building, 11-foot jog, and there are 3 to the left of that or to the west of the 11-foot jog. And that pretty much is the extent of the approval that is being requested for the
I think I want to clarify one thing. I think I heard Mr. Deck say the door that's there, and the applicant testified to this too, is a temporary door. So they're waiting for this approval to put in something that's more permanent, just so the board is aware. But he did need to open up the wall to get the equipment in, but then went through the process of doing this before he's going to do anything more. And Mr. Deck, can you also talk about how any loading trucks and the circulation in that area, if that's adequate?
Sure. As shown on the plan, the area immediately to the north of the 2 longer loading docks, to the right of the 11-foot jog, and the 3 to the left, are adjacent to what's called a no parking zone, and that is striped. Also, I might add that told by the applicant that the entire parking lot of the site is going to be repaved and restriped within the next week or two. So it's going to be, all the line striping will be more visible than they are at this point. But as far as the loading and unloading, there was, in the initial site plan, obviously, the taking into account the turning radiuses for larger tractor trailer trucks. And it was not unfair. We're proposing an unfair.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions for Mr. Deck.
Mr. Deck, did you say what the net gain or loss in parking spaces was?
Losing 3, adding 5.
So +2.
Sorry.
Mr. Deck, this application, it went through the technical review process?
Yes, both by the engineering planning department.
You had the meeting done, the pre-meeting? That's good. It looks really good. You're going to pave, because they're going to pave, because I know those question marks. I'm just curious, there was a bunch of pallets when I was over there today. Looked like it was approximately that area. So I don't know where they came from. I'm sure they're going to be gone. But, you know, just,
Same with the tenant.
The tenant, yeah.
yeah, that's just something, you know, to make sure.
So, yeah, that'll have to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there, I mean, which is fine, but I just,
Yeah, we'll have the applicant, he actually had told me about it today as well, so better to have him explain it. It will be much better explained by him than by me.
I'll be doing my job.
Well, that would have to be removed from the table. so.
And by regular.
Do either of our professionals have any questions of Mr. Deck? Mr. Cueto, Ms.
I did have some comments in my report, but I'll let council answer them whenever she's ready.
Okay, so you'll hold off then?
I don't have anything for Mr.
Oh, okay, for Mr. Deck. Good counsel.
No, I don't.
Okay. Any other board members have anything else for Mr. Deck? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you affirm that any testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name and spell your last name?
Yisroel Greenfeld, Yisrobl, Greenfeld, Greenfeld. They call me Izzy.
Izzy
Yeah.
Greenfeld.
Izzy. Well, my legal name is whatever I told you.
I'll use Izzy. I-Z-Z-I-E? or-
IZZY.
I-Z-Z. Okay, Izzy.
You can just start easy. We'll try that.
Easy Izzy, okay.
I guess first weekend, since we left off with that, you can, if you would explain to the board the pallets, where they are, where they're going, and the tent, and why you needed to put the tent there.
Meredith, just confirm that he's the owner or operator or whatever,
Yeah.
just so we can,
I'm the owner of Copac.
you're the owner of the property.
Yeah. I rent from the owner of the property.
technically.
Got it, okay.
They're 10.
So your class back.
I just asked about the pallets because they were right where the parking was.
We're the owner
so.
of Plastic.
Plastic, okay.
Okay,
Which is a subtenant of
Of
Copac.
Copac.
correct.
How much space do you have in the Copac facility?
The whole thing, 62,
Okay.
63,000 square feet.
Thank you. Proceed.
Okay. Regarding the tent and the pallets, they were moved out over there last week temporarily to be able to do some organization and sorting in the facility because the place was more or less filled up and unorganized. Because that's just how it happened when a new piece of equipment comes in and stuff get moved around. And we were informed that it wasn't supposed to be there. We were informed yesterday, and today they emptied it out, and tomorrow they're coming to take it all away. So that's that part of it.
Okay, so it's not a regular part of the process
It was
that's
there,
going to be out there.
it was there supposedly for 2 weeks, but they're taking it away two days earlier because we were informed that it wasn't supposed to be.
Fantastic, yeah, because that makes those spots available now. That's great. Good, thank you.
And the pallets, you're going to keep outside, or?
As of now, not. We have a place inside where we store them in a corner or whatever. But outside is for the parking spots for the car.
Okay.
So the pallets will be inside.
Yeah.
And the new doors that we're gonna put on, is it gonna be the same color as the building that's currently
Yeah,
there?
the guys matching it to the other three loading dock doors that are on the other side of the building, whatever, on the same wall, but we're like 250 feet away, whatever, something like that.
Okay. Will there be any additional lighting?
Additional lighting?
Lighting in that area?
No.
Okay. And what is where the parking is, where the proposed parking is in that area? What is beyond that parking area?
On one side there's a little bit of grass, whatever, and on the north side of it is there's a fence, and on the other side of that is the county's park, whatever.
Okay. And parking now on the site. since you're there every day, do you feel that it's adequate? Do you have any problems with parking?
No, we don't have problems with parking. We have another section on the northeast side of the building, which is designated to us by the landlord, and we don't need to buy it.
Okay.
Where actually is that? Is that the parking up
same-
against the fence or
Against
on
the-
the
yeah.
building side?
On the same side, on the north, all the way to the north, on the east, towards the front, towards Borough Avenue, towards
Right.
east. At all the parking spots that are against the fence on the north side are
Yes.
designated to us.
Okay. Along with the corner radius that's where the
The
tent's
corner
at.
radius going to west or to east?
Where the tent's at now.
Yes, yes.
I have no further questions for Mr. Greenfeld, but the board may, so I'll leave it to you.
Okay, let me start off with our professionals to see any questions for.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Izzy. I'm sorry. Tell us about your business. What do you do?
We manufacture corrugated plastic boards, and we cut them and we sell them as boxes. So we manufacture plastic corrugated boxes.
And does that entail you shipping these out, bringing in raw materials?
We receive raw materials and we ship out the finished boxes, yes.
What type of an inbound, outbound traffic do you usually have?
We receive about a trailer a day, and we ship out between 7 and 10 trailers a week.
And just out of curiosity on behalf of the borough, how long have you been doing this here?
We started in March 2014.
So this was new. Was this elsewhere in the area and you relocated here?
We relocated from Canada.
That's next door.
That's where I was born, that's where I grew up.
Tough commute from Montreal every day.
I would just like one follow-up question and clarification. The deliveries that you get now and that you will get in the future, continuing, are they going to be out of this new door that you've created?
No, the deliveries that we're getting is on a loading dock at trailer level. This is a drive and ground level door to go outside. As of now, until now, we did not have a way to get outside of the building with a forklift or anything to drive in and ground level. We only had docks. So this is the door for ground level access.
Okay, and how often do you anticipate you're going to use the door for equipment or, moving large pieces of equipment?
It's not so easy, so it doesn't happen so often. Very rarely. I mean, if we have the door, we might use it for some stuff. I mean, it's not there not to be used, but it's not. We don't anticipate. We don't have anything that we're scheduling like this. This door is going to be used for everything that we ship or receive. Comes either in bulk trucks or in regular trucks, which go to the loading dock.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
When you mentioned trailers, 1 in per day, 7 or 8 trailers out per week on average, do you mean 18-wheelers?
Yes.
That's it.
But not out of this door?
No,
Okay.
I understand.
Mr. Pantini?
Okay, so the fact that you've been here since 14, so it's been in operation for several years, the fact that you have 1 trailer coming in a day, right? And 7 or 8 a week, so basically you have 8 trailers moving through there on a weekly basis. And Mr. Deck said you're going to repave and restripe the parking lot. I don't really see any turning movements for the tractor trailers, so I mean, is there any issues with bringing the trailers in off of Borough, seeing that, let's say on chance that all the parking spaces are taken, is that an issue with moving the trailers in and out of those 2 loading spaces? 2, right? 2 loading spaces.
We have 3. We
Okay.
have 3 loading docks on the north side of the building.
Right.
And we have 2 more on the southeast side of the building.
This is the space right here.
Oh, you have over here, okay.
The 2 on the southeast side is what we use for inbound. That's the receiving.
Okay.
So that's where we receive about a trailer a day. Usually it's 6 trailers a week.
Where do they come in off of Lafayette?
They come in off Lafayette.
And they, I guess they leave off of Lafayette too.
They come in Lafayette and they back up.
Right.
Loading dock over there, that's what we do with the receiving.
Okay.
So on the side where we're talking now,
Yeah.
we're talking roughly 1 trailer a day. So if we're gonna double the capacity, it'll be 2.
Okay. And I guess my next question is, starts off with Christian from Harbor. So the fact that, I mean, it is what it is, but the fact that Harbor's report mentions that 258 parking spaces are required and variance requested, obviously we shall have 139, understandable, and you don't have the whole site, you're a tenant, and, I mean, and you already stated that there's no issues with parking. And you also said you're receiving on the southeast side. Is the parking on the southeast corner that yours too?
We have 5 parking spots on the southeast side of the building.
Okay. So, Christian, so I basically just stated the fact of what you mentioned. I guess that's, I guess it would be a fair and reasonable, I guess, advice to us that that's okay.
Yes, the parking is based on square footage, but depending on the type of use, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be utilizing every single spot.
Okay.
And also, this is an existing variance. This was granted last time around. And the fact that they're maintaining, we're actually adding 1 or 2 spaces, means that no relief is necessary in this application.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, and I just stated the obvious. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the board?
One quick question. You said you're going to double your capacity. New machine, congratulations, sounds good. Are you going to double your workforce?
No.
That's hence the new machine.
The new machine is not what doubled our capacity. I mean, the new machine came in already. That's not what I was trying to say is even if we do double our capacity.
Understood.
We've doubled our capacity since we were there. We started in 2014. We used to receive 1 truck in 4 days. Now we receive 1 truck a day. So even if we go 4 more years, whatever it is, and we double it, it'll make it to 2. It might even make it to 3. We have 2 loading docks on that side of the building. It's not like a major traffic coming in and out.
My question really concerned is if you were going to double your employees.
The employees, no.
No.
I just want to make something that I just became aware of earlier was you had mentioned that the owner of the site has an existing variance. Now, I don't have it, I'm just making the board aware, to put parking on the side of the building. So we will have to come back here, is what I'm saying. If he increases his operations, we'll come back here and we'll use that variance. So if there's an issue with parking or him intensifying his operations, doubling, tripling, then we will see.
How many employees do you have at present, full-time?
We run on 3 shifts. So the total on the payroll or per shift? At one time or everything together? Both.
Both, and worst case, like, I'm assuming your main shift is during the day?
Yes, the main shift is
3 8-hour shifts? Is
the
that
shift is during the day. Our total company exists of, I think, between 42 and 46 employees. And
what's the most that are there at any one time?
the most that are there at one time is about 25.
And you're not doing a retail or anything like that from the site?
No.
So it's just, okay.
So you're saying there's a whole additional bank of the parking spots?
The west side of the building is, from the building to the end of the property, there's 45 feet and change.
Okay.
Which when we moved in, or maybe even before that, the landlord came for a variance in order for us to be able to come in, that if need be in the future, he got a permit to pave that area and make over there additional between 30 and 40 parking spots.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of it realistically. Obviously, things go good, you have more people, more cars, they're going to all be there, and they're going to be finding spots, and your landlord's going to say, well, you're a tenant in my building, I give you these spots, and then you're going to have to say, well, I need some more spots, and he'll give you those.
And we'll be back for
And the problem's solved.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes, I just have a few questions. Yesterday, I noticed that there were a few dropped trailers on this side of the building. Is that permanent or temporary?
It's not permanent, but it's there for a little while, probably maybe for another few weeks.
So you're using it kind of as storage?
We use it for storage because to try to keep things organized and whatever, things that we didn't really use, we put it out there for storage.
Okay, thank you.
That was it? Yeah. Anyone else on the board? So I had a couple of questions and I didn't see anybody else. You mentioned you operate 24 hours, that's 7 days a week?
6 days a week. We close Friday afternoon and we start up again depending on the seasons, either Saturday night or Sunday morning.
So I'm also a little bit confused because I thought you said that you have the entire facility, but then I also heard some comments about you only occupy a portion of the facility, so...
The building?
Yeah, I guess I'll go with the building.
We have half of the building, roughly.
Okay.
And the building is, I think, 122,000 square feet, and we have 63.
And ultimately, so the next question, ultimately, who's responsible for the maintaining the property?
On the outside?
The outside,
The landlord.
yes, okay. Because I had an opportunity to visit the site today, and, you know, the fact that your property or his property is an industrial zone is no excuse for the condition of the property. Along Lafayette Avenue, towards the rear, the vegetation to me looked like it was possibly 10 feet tall. So anyway, there are, to me, significant issues with maintaining the exterior of the property, and that needs to be addressed.
On the same page.
Has that ever been discussed with you and the landlord? The exterior maintenance or lack thereof?
We do pay for it. It's included in our cost, like in maintenance fees and stuff. We pay for it, but basically whatever gets covered is snow removal and landscaping in front of the building and such type of stuff.
Have you ever said to them, this piece of the property looks, I think I know your answer. You know, it's 10 feet high, can you do something about it? And has that been mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. That's a good answer.
And there's a couple of things that have come up throughout this process that we're going to attempt to address with nice letters, so.
Do you think something will happen? I mean, based on your appearance here, might this get rolled into cleanup of the...
Some of the stuff, yes. They're redoing now, the landlord is redoing the pavement on both sides of the building. It's definitely going to make the place look a little bit more presentable, and we're more organized in the back of the building besides. That was the reason why we took the temporary tent in order to get a little bit of more space in the building for a couple of weeks to reorganize. And that should help it as well. But in regards to the ground on the south side of the building and the west side of the building, there's not much that was ever done to it, or I don't think that he anticipates to do about it.
Would the landlord be here in this room by any chance, or no?
No.
No, okay.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
No one else? Cool. Okay, very good.
And that's our application.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Yes, we do have to open the meeting to the public for this particular case. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this particular application, step forward, state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting? Okay, motion in a second. Second. I think Mr. Shelkey made a motion and Mr. Capari seconded, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. All right. I guess we'll entertain discussion amongst the board. Is there any consideration for a motion to either approve or deny the application?
I would make a motion to approve. We're getting plus 2 parking spots. He's benefiting the property for his facility, so we keep a company functioning in here. I understand the point about not building a wall back in, just in case this piece of equipment has to get serviced. It would be his cost to take the wall apart and put it back together again. It's a minor change in the overall site, and he's a tenant. It's good news to hear that the landlord is going to pave
And stripe.
and stripe. That would be great. Maybe as part of that, the 10-foot tall leaves will get knocked down to at least a reasonable height. But I see no detriment to the township. So I would make a motion to approve.
My second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Grimaldi and a second by Mr. Panatino. Are there any conditions that we would add to it, or as is?
Mr. David, what about the drop trailers? Can we make something in the thing about they have to be removed, or they can't stay there for that long, or can't stay there forever? Is that an issue or concern? Can we do that?
Outdoor storage is not permitted, so these are not allowed to be there. Now, the report has always been reasonable, if things are there for a short time for a specific purpose. We're not seeking enforcement on them, but on the other hand, if the board feels that this is a legitimate problem, you may want to make a note of it in your resolution tonight and ask for a report or an update prior to the resolution being heard next month, and give the applicant an opportunity to get things cleaned up.
As far as conditions, I know Kevin and Christian have some modest conditions in the reports. We normally make it subject to what's in the reports unless the board chooses differently. And I had one condition about the pallets being stored inside, which is a takeoff on Kevin's recent comments. Our normal conditions as far as paying taxes.
If it helps, the applicant said that they're going to be removed anyway when they pave.
I was going to say they wouldn't have to move.
They're going to have to move them
Well,
when
that doesn't
they
mean they're
pave.
being moved permanently.
Do they know roughly when the paving is going to take?
Next week, he'll do one side, and his side, he'll do the following week. So
Will the
by
trailers
the
be put-
resolution, they should be gone.
Will the trailers be put back then? I mean, no? Okay, all right.
Okay.
So-
Good then. It's fine.
So we'll say, just no outdoor storage. I mean, we can leave it at that, Kevin? No outdoor storage, okay.
And you're including the pallets?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Grimaldi and Mr. Pantino, are you okay with those being added to?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion?
And that should pick up everything.
Okay.
Does the board want some kind of an update prior to the next hearing?
Gentlemen?
We will happily provide it.
Thank you. Okay. All right.
I meant someone from the borough.
I'll provide it. Don't call. Then we can go out.
You untrusting
Fine job. Perhaps Mr. Quinn or myself or the zoning officer could go
Very good.
at your direction.
Sounds fine.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, so we'll take a roll call on the application.
Shelkey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
Grimaldi?
Yes.
Pantina?
Yes.
Mondowdy?
Yes.
Colillo?
Yes.
Mazzio?
Yes.
And Jones.
Yes.
Okay, the application has been
Thank you.
approved. Congratulations. Okay.
So we're going to
Okay, next item on our agenda under new business is application 5-17, which is a variance. The applicants are Frederick and Carol Starter. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. If not, you can correct me. And the address is 20 Brasser Lane, otherwise known as Block 68, Lot 17. Just step forward and present your case.
And I understand that notice
Yes, it was.
on this one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, state your name and address.
My name is Andrew Paparez, I'm the architect, and my client.
Okay.
Correct.
Mr. Rego, you want to swear them in?
Yes. One second. All right, let me swear you both in one at a time. Sir, could you raise your right hand?
Just one question. Are Mr. and Mrs. Starter in the audience? Oh, okay. I want to bring them in.
Yeah, they're the applicants.
We don't need all
Yeah. Okay, let's see where we go, but at some point, one of the applicants should probably say something. Yeah, just because.
I'm just speaking, the house is in their name, they have this, finance or only buy it, and it just happens to.
All right, when I swear you, I'll swear you in. Are you going to speak together or one at a time? Or-
Yeah, we can answer
Okay,
each one, but
could you raise-
I'll be discussing this.
All right, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony and comments you're about to give shall be the truth? Okay, state your name, spell your last name.
Craig Stauder, Stauder.
Is it C-R-A-I-G?
CRAIG.
And what's your relation to the applicants?
They're my parents.
Okay. And sir, if you could...
My name is Andrew Podbrezniak, Podbrezniak.
Yeah, I'm trying to find your plans. So we can sit there. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and you've already, and you're the architect on this project?
I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, just let me get your name. Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to go right over our still under oath.
Yes, yes.
Prior. Okay.
You are both still on the road from the prior application.
We'll be good then.
Okay.
Can I say something, ask a question? Sure. I just want to be clear, so that's the applicants, you're their son.
Yes.
You just said that the house is in their name, they helped you buy the house, but you
Yes.
live there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's all yours.
So at present time, 20 Braswell Lane is a small split-level house, which has basically one-car garage and little tiny living room on the side of it on the lowest level. And their son actually lives there with his girlfriend, three kids, and recently his parents moved in there also. And they need a bigger place basically to get together. They have no TV room, no family room, so they decided to get rid of the the garage, open up the wall and create a bigger family room. With the existing garage door, they would put basically a double French door. Get rid of the wall between, and that would be a nice big space for some couches, nice TV, and everybody can entertain with just 7 people there. At present time, we have a 2 parking. Single-family house requires 2.5 spaces. We're actually providing 3 spaces. We're providing 2 spaces in the front, and then we're providing 1 space on the side of the house. If you see on my drawings, you see there's a little side plan, and I showed all 3 spaces there. And we actually, so we're seeking actually two different variances. One is for removing the garage and creating family room, and the second one for the size of the shed that was built in the backyard. The existing shed that was built was 12 by 12 by 12 foot high. The existing requirements are 10 by 10 by 10 foot high. And guess what happened was my client went, picked up the application, filled out the forms, got the approvals, built the shed, and then there was some kind of a confusion between construction department, zoning department, and he was informed that he was only able to build 10 by 10, but it was already too late. The shed was already built. So that's the second variance we're seeking.
So you pulled a permit for the shed, but did not pull a permit for the garage?
Correct.
Because garage is done.
Garage is done, correct.
And when was the pool put in the deck?
Pool was put in last April, and the deck was soon put in right after. That was all approved and passed.
This April, 18 or 17?
Last April.
2017.
2017.
Okay.
And you said that was you pulled permits, it was approved in terms
Went
of
through the zoning,
side yards and...
Everything, yeah.
Okay.
And I was approved for the shed, and, I built it, and then I had to come back down and fill out, it was a mistake, I had to fill out another zoning permit, and have the paperwork, just had to fill one out, because it was a mistake. And I found out after I was told I could go 12, he's like, oh, it must have been a mistake. I was wrong, I gave it wrong, and
There was some kind of confusion between the zoning.
So that's why I added the shed to this variance.
Right. But you had permits and you pulled one.
All the zoning permits were approved, filled out, and everything.
And then it was a mistake, and I had to come back and fill out another zoning permit, which I think I submitted with all this stuff that one report. It was approved, and he crossed it out, and I had to do another zoning permit.
Okay.
When was the original approved shed, the original permit for the shed done?
It was, I'm guessing, I think October.
Approximately.
Like October, because I was built, I had to build it 17, because I had to get it built, so I had stuff I just had to put in before the winter time, so I think I applied in October, and it was approved, and it was built literally like in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then found out later on that I was told it was too high, after I was told it was 12. It's 11.4.
When was the garage converted into a living space?
2016, probably December, November. And it was originally, I was going to buy the house next door, 26 Prosser, and it had no garage. And the whole time, it was a matter of trying to get 7 people into the house, and, I just didn't really know, it was the house I was going to buy, had no garage.
And when did you buy the house?
I closed on it October 31st, 2016. Holiday 2016.
And the garage was done afterwards.
Yeah, there was no wall even in between anything, right? The house was vacant for 3 years.
No, you're just trying to... Timeline.
Yes. And it was, I started working on it in November, and it was basically done in April-ish,
Right, but you bought the house, you own the house, you're owner, and then the conversion was made at the same time, and this is 2 years later.
Yeah.
And you're there with your 3 children?
His girlfriend and now the parents moved back.
And your mother, I'm just trying to get the head count here. Is it you, your wife, and the 3 children? Girlfriend and the 3 children?
And your parents?
And now the parents moved into their house.
After you bought the house?
Yes.
Okay. So how many total bedrooms are there, were there in the house when you bought it?
3, well, the children only there 2 days on, 2 days off.
And the 3 bedrooms, I'm assuming you're upstairs,
Yes.
over the garage area?
Over the garage and the little family room, yes.
Do your parents, what do they do for, as far as kitchen, cooking materials? Do you use one kitchen?
Yeah, one kitchen.
They don't have a separate kitchen downstairs or anything like that?
Just the one, there's only one kitchen there.
Okay.
When did the parents move in?
4 or 5 months ago.
So in 18, the parents moved in 2018.
Yes.
Did you do the conversion work yourself?
Yes.
Did you pull any permits, electrical, plumbing?
No, there's no plumbing in there. I mean, basically, the wall was basically already removing. And it basically, if you see it, it's just trim work. Like I did just the whole garage
You
wall.
finished the entire basically room.
What's your occupation?
That's what he does for a living.
That's what you do for a
Finish
living?
carpentry, yeah.
Okay.
To keep the record clear, we should really have one person speaking.
Yeah.
For recording.
Back to the shed, is the shed, even though it was oversized, does it meet setback requirements? Because I don't see anything.
All the setbacks are met.
We have nothing that shows that.
The survey doesn't show it. It just shows the shed on the lot.
Right, because the survey, when the survey was done, there was no dimensions on that survey, so that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the site plan doesn't show it either.
Right.
That looks really cool. It's definitely under 10.
It says building.
I think it's on a shed, isn't it? 3 or 5?
Yeah, it might be, I think it's
3. What is it, the metric for?
3 feet setback.
That's 70 feet for it.
All this was three structures that
I was looking at the wrong.
Gentlemen, one at a time, please.
There's a 3-foot accessory structure setback in this.
There is it does show it on the...
I'm sorry, I was looking at the architect's drawings, not
Yeah,
the, not the civil drawing.
Mr. O'Brien?
Just to correct the record, it's been a proffer that the permits were issued. All I can say with any authority reflects the paperwork that I have as part of our file, and that was that on March the 9th of 2017, Mr. Herbert denied a zoning permit at this property to change the garage into a living space. And that application had been submitted on the 1st of March 2017 under the name of Fred and Craig Stouter. So as of March of 2017, there had been a denial to change the garage. Following that, there was a zoning permit request. I have the initial date of the 11th of September in 17, followed by a possible revised application on the 3rd of November 17 for a shed, and the dimensions are 12 by 12 by 11, and that was denied by the zoning officer on the 15th of November 2017. So both of the items in front of you have denial letters.
Was the first application, does there seem to be some sort of discrepancy in regards to the shed between the first application and the second application, as the applicant stated?
No. Well, all I have is the paperwork in front of me that's part of the record. Mr. Stouter, in past meetings, has made statements about permits being issued, but I have requested copies of those permits. I've never seen them.
Do you have anything we can approve?
If he has something to offer us tonight, that would be...
They were approved by
Mr. Stouter, if he wants to offer those this evening, then that would be part of his case.
Do you have copies of those permits?
Everything I turned in, there was a letter from him, everything was approved. Came down, picked up everything, and I walked into...
Well, let me just step back for a second. Everything was approved with regards to what?
Shed.
The shed,
The
okay.
shed, yes, just the shed. Yes, he did deny the zoning for the garage, but the shed was all approved. I came down and picked everything up, and I just walked into his office and said, how high can I go? And he said 12 foot. So I said, okay, I went and built it. Later on, it came back that I got a letter stating that I had crossed off approved and it was denied. So I had to come back in and fill out another zoning permit, no charge. And, after it was already built, said, oh, I must have made a mistake. I also do Springfield, so I must have got the two mistaken. Because if he would have told me 10, I would have built it in 10. I wouldn't have went, it's on 11.4, I would have built it, just pitched the roof a little smaller, it wasn't a big deal, but he did tell me, and that was the whole mix-up. So once he denied it, I didn't get the approved plans. That's why I'm here now, to go through this, and I already had the variance going for my garage. The garage, not the shed, and then I had to hold it up as after the fact. He first told me it was for, I only needed a building permit, I didn't need a variance. So later on, I found out I needed a variance, anything over 10 by 10 and over 10 foot high, so that's why I sort of held up the process a little bit, and I had to add the shed to the garage variance.
So you bought the house in October of 16. It was empty for 3 years. You're a woodworker. You probably went in and said, I have an opportunity to make a decent looking house. So the house had to get fully renovated, I'm assuming, internally.
Shouldn't work.
The backyard, we're looking at all this existing concrete, existing deck, existing above ground pool, existing shed. When you got there, what did the backyard look like? Just grass?
There was
Little
a
patio?
shed, there was I'm not sure the size of the shed that was there. No deck, just a set of stairs. That concrete patio was there, always with the thing. And there was like a 10 by 10 shed, basically like 10 feet off the back of the house. There's like a little breakfast nook off the one side, and like 10 foot back, maybe less. There used to be a shed there.
Okay, so you purchased this home. You probably have somewhere in the back of your mind how it's going to progress with your parents coming in, possibility, and all this. The lot is not a tiny lot. It's not the hugest lot, but it's 163, 169 feet deep.
The lot is actually 9,400 square feet.
Not a tiny lot. Not yet, for Kenilworth. You have ample opportunity to put an addition right out in the back, maintain all the variances, and get the living space that you need.
That was definitely the goal, is to go up. That was our goal, to really go up and add 2 bedrooms upstairs. It was just a financial situation where we just try and make do, but that is, the goal is to actually go up and add a couple of bedrooms upstairs, on top.
And that's still your goal?
That's still my goal.
If that's still your goal, I would say if you're taking on that type of a reconstruction of this property, then part of that should be that it gets brought into compliance. Because if there's physically no restraint to the property, you've added a number of other amenities to the property, and you have 4 adults living in the house, and I don't know your kid's age, and I don't need to, but you have 4 adults living in your house, more than likely approximately the same amount of cars, having a garage with the handy thing with that. I'm a little perplexed at just the immediateness of just doing this without any permits. You're in the business, you know permits are required. So I don't understand if you could explain it, but
There's a section in the zoning actually that mentions garage conversions. It's very ambiguous, but it basically says that existing attached and detached garage shall not be converted to any other permissible use unless the owner can comply with requirements of subsection B. Now, subsection B basically says new construction, every dwelling unit must provide off-street parking for at least one car which shall not be within the front yard setback. So the way I understand, basically, if you remove the garage, as long as you provide additional parking space not in front yard setback, that means on the side of the house, you're complying with this. And that's what he basically did. We put a parking space on the side of the house, just for that.
What's your citation of that?
I have a copy.
It's just the section number.
It's 197-24.
well, let me ask you a question.
Sorry,
That's not the existing code.
This is...
197 is not our existing code.
This was
was removed in November 2015.
We talked to the zoning officer, we can say that.
So, were you involved, as the architect, were you involved in this project?
I was
In November of 16?
No, I was involved when we broke approximately 2 months ago.
So you knew about this variance as a gentleman moving into the township at that time? In 2016, you knew about that section he just called up?
No.
Okay, so he didn't have that in his mind at that time?
I'm not saying he didn't have it.
I thought that's what you said.
No, I didn't say he had that in his mind.
No, you did say he had
Yeah, you
it in his
did
mind
say that.
when he went ahead and made the changes. You did say that.
Oh, he didn't know about it. I just found this and
Okay, well, that's what we heard.
Right, that's what I heard.
The bottom line here, and I mean, again, obvious things. We have a lot of proofs here, and we have a letter dated May 23rd, 18, from Frederick and Carol Stouter, on, I guess, proofs on why a variance may be issued, and taking in what you had just gave testimony to, and what you had given testimony to, variances are, and I'll let Mr. Rabel help me with this, but I mean, variances are to be given out for hardships, not personal hardships, property hardships. And what my colleagues have said basically is that the property is big enough for any type of additions going up, going back, and the ordinances require a garage. Now, you may have found something outdated for conversion, stuff like that, but really unless you could, well, entertain it, I guess, but as far as what you've provided here in this document, as far as a hardship, unfortunately, personal hardships don't cut it, for the most part. Is that good?
Normally, yes.
Okay.
Well, we provided the adequate amount of parking spaces, so there is no issue with off-street parking or anything like this. The only thing is he needed bigger space to be together with his parents and the kids come over.
Okay, but the owner has stated that the goal was, and probably still is, put addition on, up and back.
Extra bedrooms, because the way I understand, eventually the kids will live there full time.
Okay, okay, and at that point, the garage will still be converted, and...
Well, that would act as a bigger family, yes.
I mean, if I could do it, now I would, but it's always a money situation. That's the biggest problem is funds, you know, I mean, if I had it, I would have been done, but, I mean, it's-
No, listen, I understand it
And
completely.
he was
but
definitely fully doing on his own without permits, and he's trying to rectify this.
I understand it, and we're all residents, and we all have issues, and we all have, you know, money's money, I get it. But you have to understand, we have ordinances for a reason, and we're here to, not enforce, but we're here to oversee and entertain and make sure the master plan is, stays in compliance or gets molded into it as much as possible. My 2 cents. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and obviously what I find offensive is the fact that you're in the business and you just decided to go ahead and make these changes without getting the appropriate permits or finding out if you needed the permits. So that's something that's hard to overlook, at least from my perspective.
Question was, when you bought the house, when you purchased the house, it's been vacant for 3 years. What, was it a foreclosed house?
yes.
Okay, did it lose its CO? Did it lose its certificate of occupancy?
I'm not sure.
And I apologize, I'm not even sure who to ask. I see somebody else that just came back into the room that maybe the person asked too, but if we have a house that's vacant for 3 years and it's in what kind of disrepair, we don't know. And the gentleman is testifying that the walls were basically gone already, which would be a code violation because you need a fire-rated wall between the garage and the living space. And the gentleman gets right into the house. Before a vacant property gets occupied again, do we have anything in our statute that somebody has to look at beforehand?
Should do.
Just to give you an example, when he
You should need a CO.
No, but hang on, you said the construction, so when it's purchased, they'd have to walk in?
I cannot answer that question specifically, but whatever our zoning officer is here, maybe he can answer it.
I mean, the house has to be habitable. So,
Just, when he purchased this house, I remember he called me in because he was planning to put a addition to the house, an additional bedrooms.
upstairs.
Upstairs, okay? And we discussed this, and I looked at the house was not in good shape. Either painting, either trim, but it wasn't like it was abandoned house. It had a garage. There was a garage door, it had a garage. And then I haven't heard from him for a long time. When I came back, the house looks beautiful now. I mean, all the trim work he did, painting, everything looks beautiful, okay? He just needed that family room bigger and decided to basically that he doesn't need the garage.
Okay, but the testimony earlier was that the garage was in huge disrepair, the wall was not safe, it was coming down, and that's why you did this back in
Everything was-
16.
Like, there was only 2 studs up, there was no sheet rock on the walls, it was basically, everything was,
You're talking only about maybe the wall between the garage and upstairs, not the entire house.
Oh, no, wait, you just said the house was in good shape when you saw it.
everything was flooded out, like when I ended up, I mean, everything, the floors, everything was moldy. When there was like 6 inches of water in the basement, because the sump pumps didn't work. I mean, it was,
So this must have been on the lower, the garage level, if it was flooded, because the upper level was.
Could we ask the zoning officer if he knows if there's ordinance regarding the occupancy of a vacant property?
I don't see why not.
See, I would walk around.
Our zoning officer's here, Mr. Herbert. Bob, do you want to come up?
I swear you in.
With regard to this matter, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
State your name, spell your last name, please.
Robert Herbert, Herbert.
And what is your position in the borough?
I'm the zoning officer.
And are you familiar with this matter, this property, and what's been said?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Bob, if a vacant house gets purchased, do we have any kind of system in place in Kenilworth that it has any type of safety check?
The only safety issue, the only policy we have in place is that you have to get fire CO inspection for fire and carbon.
So fire would have to walk through the building?
Yeah, you have to fill an application out, there's a fee, and he walks through and you make sure that all the proper smoke detectors are working properly before you can...
So we're saying that more than likely, our fire official walked through the property.
No, if an application isn't submitted, we only know about the sale when there's a closing date and someone properly applies. If they didn't know about the rule and they don't apply, which I believe is in this circumstances, it was overlooked, it doesn't. But once he obtains building permits, yes, then there is code enforcement by building, step by step. But the initial on a closing, to answer your question, is only a smoke detector application.
Just an application, not even...
An application and inspection. The fire chief does the inspection.
So the fire chief would have walked through the property?
If he received an application, yes. And probably, in this particular case...
Because it's a bankruptcy?
Right, and it was vacant. I can't speak for him. I don't know what he would do, in these circumstances. Condition of the house and...
Again, I can't see him walking through and neglecting the fact that there's not a fire-rated wall between the garage and the living space.
Right, he would probably give him time to say, you have to do this. That would be my guess, but I can't speak for him.
We're guessing.
Right. Okay.
Does the borough receive a list of land transactions from the county so the borough knows which properties have changed?
Not that I'm aware of that they do. I know here they're supposed to record a deed, and then it goes to the tax office, and the deed is recorded to the tax office, but I've never seen anything in the building department about that.
So the only way that your department gets notice that a property's changed hands is if that property owner makes an application
for a zoning permit, correct.
That would...
Yeah, because even for the fire inspection, they apply at the fire department, they don't apply at the building department. And I believe that's one of the things when we want our certificate of occupancy.
But isn't there a check on that when there is a closing, especially if there's financing involved, that comes to closing? So
That's between the lawyers.
I know, but it usually, it doesn't, in my experience, it doesn't fall through the cracks. It looks like here it might, but...
That's terrible.
But, okay.
You as a zoning officer would have known this property was vacant for that time because of...
Yes, I was aware of that, but I wasn't aware of...
You didn't know it changed?
That it was sold.
Yeah.
That I'm not notified when it's auctioned, I'm not notified when it's sold. A lot of times that's what happens in the foreclosure of vacant property. So it gets in the paper and it goes up for auction and somebody buys it, next thing you know, you see construction going on. But then, then we enforce the rules.
Doesn't the borough have a registry of foreclosed homes and we keep an eye on them for maintenance purposes?
Yes, and this particular property, I was aware that this property was vacant.
So how does, when a property is conveyed, doesn't it come off that list? Is there some communication? Because the banks are paying the borough a fee.
Right, they have to register the property.
Right.
And they have to maintain the exterior of it.
So when the bank sells it, isn't it to their advantage to let the borough know that it's not our problem anymore, you got to go after somebody else?
By law, by our vacant abandoned ordinance, they have 30 days to notify us that they're no longer responsible, and they're supposed to forward the information of the new owner.
And do you get that on a regular basis?
We usually just get a letter saying they're not responsible, and then we send a letter back saying, even though you don't own the property, you're still responsible because under ordinance number so-and-so, you did not properly notify us by telling us who the new owner is.
All right, so gentlemen, I don't know that, we have to obviously tighten up some things within the borough. We can address that later, but in regards to the specific case.
Sorry to take the time.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
While Mr. Herbert's still under oath, I'd like to ask one question. The applicant brought up that there might have been a miscommunication or just misunderstanding in regards to the height of the shed initially when he applied and then afterwards. Could that have happened?
Yes, that was true at the time. Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Can I add one thing? Sure. It's not too much. I'll right on 20 Borough, I'm like the lowest point, between, usually like right in the middle of the street. And the drain basins are right there, right in front of my driveway. So and when I was doing this, I talked to my neighbors, I said, this house gets hammered constantly, any flash flood, because they don't open the dam in Cranford a lot, or quick enough. So every time, and when I did it, I actually raised the door, and I put it in right to the top of it, which is 7 foot. So I raised the door 4 inches just to make sure. And I still got once a month, last Saturday and Friday before, I had water 4 inches up the door, just flowing my door, my whole driveway. I'm the only one on my street in the middle that gets like 4 or 5 inches on a door that's already, I can show you video of the water pouring in the door. So, if I even had a garage door, it'd be 4 inches lower. And every time we get these flash floods and they don't open the dam, my whole garage, even the family room, would get soaked, sheetrock, everything. It gets that hot. I can show you videos from last Saturday and the Friday before, the water 4 or 5 inches up my door, that's 4 inches higher than my garage door would be, pouring in like a river into my downstairs. It's just, like I said, just raise the door all the way to the top of the garage door header when I installed it, so if it was a garage door, it would just be, it'd be coming in my garage, I'd be flooded out. I mean, it helps that I got it up, but it still comes in, but if it was just a garage door, it would get flooded every flash flood that we have, like constantly. I've had water there 5 or 6 times already. And it just helps having that door because I can keep it, it's high,
It doesn't step up.
It's like 4 or 5, I
I get it, I don't know if it's a valid argument.
I understand, and I feel for your inconvenience with it, but I would also suggest to you that if it was a garage, you could pour a 6 to 8 inch curb on the inside of the garage, make it continuous, and get now a 6 to 8 inch barrier around the inside, so the water would not be entering into your living space. The way you have it now, it is getting flooded, and is not only entering into a garage area, it's entering into a garage, a family room, and there's stairs at the other end of that family room, which could be going then right now down into your basement. So you've created a situation that is possibly more harmful to the house than if it was a garage.
Mr. O'Brien, with regards to the parking, obviously, the architect presented some old code, but do you know, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't a variance needed for parking in the front yard setback, because obviously with the garage being eliminated, you have they're claiming that one spot was moved to the side, but you have multiple spots sitting in front of where the garage used to be. And I thought that was a violation, of the code in terms of parking in the front yard setback, yet that's not listed, so.
It's standard practice for single-family residences to have parking forward of a garage. And anything forward of a house line or a garage line is considered the front yard.
Right.
So that tandem parking is an accepted practice. It's allowed in the ordinance. However, in this case, there's now no garage.
Right.
So what does that parking get tied to? And since a garage is required under the ordinance, and this is why the applicant is here, because they removed the garage, they removed that space. So my guess is that their testimony is that they're trying to mitigate that by showing a space to the side, and then the 2 spaces in the driveway, which would normally occupy that spot by virtue of them being in front of the garage.
Right, but the garage is gone, so I'm trying to get clarity on, is providing one spot to the side of the front yard setback adequate under the existing code? They've quoted an older code.
That code doesn't exist.
I understand, I completely understand. So I'm trying- I don't have the code book in front of me to know.
I do.
So I guess the question is, are the two spots that they indicate qualify as parking spots?
The two spots in front of the former garage, I believe do qualify. Because as soon as we start not qualifying them, there's an awful lot that, there's too many circumstances that could get in the way of that. The side spot though, that does go into the side yard setback. A parking area by itself does not violate those setbacks, but if this were a garage, it would be a new structure, and it would be within that setback. Whether you allow that to count or not would be up to you.
Excuse me, talking about that side spot. That side spot is okay within the drainage easement? Drainage easement doesn't take away any space that anything can be in on the survey?
Let me take a look at the survey.
There's a drainage easement on the easterly side of the lot that's 5 feet.
Yeah.
And since the side parking space takes up pretty much all of the side yard between the house and the lot, half of it's a drainage easement. And
Yes.
So is that where that curb is that was installed now? The curb that parallels the two spots in the front and then kind of curves out? That's located in the easement too. And is that
That is correct.
an issue?
Well, it's an issue in that if somebody needs access to that easement,
You're gonna have to
they
rip
have
that
full
first.
authority to rip out whatever's there.
The side parking is done pavers, so they could be picked out and put it back in. It's not asphalt.
What is it? Pavers.
Was that an existing bathroom behind the ex-garage there when you got there? Well, that'd be a small garage.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Club?
Yes, the wall that was removed between the garage and the family room, do you know if that was a main bearing wall? Was that headers installed?
Supports there.
That's one was the wall, and he installed beam with, once we go for construction permit, I have to verify, I have to rectify, there has to be a bigger beam, so I have to put it. But first we gotta go through this.
Question on the shed again. Does it mean that sheds are not allowed, you can't have a shed in town that's larger than 10 by 10?
Correct. Or higher than 10 feet.
Okay. So any type of storage accessory site structure, maximum 10 by 10?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from Mr. Reagan?
On your plan, you have the family room and the garage entitled new family room. Okay, that wall does not exist. I'm assuming that total area is where your parents spend most of their time on their home?
Just, we get together in that room, mostly.
Okay, but
There's not enough room in the bedroom, so they go down there, and that's where the TV is and the couches, that's where this.
how about, now, is this a family room and a bedroom, or is it just one room?
This is
with
just a family room.
So there are no beds?
There is no bed, there are couches, and there's a couch.
Where do they sleep?
One of the bedrooms upstairs.
Upstairs? Okay. So they have a family room.
Yeah, the existing family room was 11 by 11.
You don't have that whole house, you only got a piece of the house.
All right,
I'm sure when you walk up the stairs, there's a living room, behind that there's dining room, and right next to that is the kitchen. Just like all the other splits in the house.
got it. All right.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, any other comments from our professionals? No? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing to the public.
So moved.
Okay, second. Motion by Mr. Schilke, a second by Mr. Mazia. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to say something either for or against the application, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Make motion. Motion, yes.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Perry, seconded by Mr. Ladani. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay. I'll open it to discussion amongst the board. Is there anyone who has any additional comments or is ready to... I'm sorry.
No, well, okay, just so we can focus, the pool, I understand, is not an issue.
Correct.
Okay, so the two variances that we can discuss is the shed in the side yard, and I believe we heard testimony that there was some, at the time of permit, there was some confusion. Right. And something was built, and Mr. Herbert indicated that that was probably the case. So the shed is one issue, and the expansion of the family room is the second issue, meaning...
except I just stated as the removal of the garage.
The removal of the garage to expand the family room. So those are the two, the shed and the removal of the garage. And is there a variance needed, Kevin, for that side yard, for that space in the side yard?
No, sir.
Okay, so they're proposing 3 parking spots. Okay, so that's what we should focus on.
Okay, so if there's no discussion, is anyone...
I'm just wondering what our job is here. We spent most of the time figuring out how we got here, but not a lot of time discussing the merits of the variance and what the proposal, a little bit of an introduction. So I guess that leaves it up to us to see, I'm the first one to say I'm in the construction industry, and you got to know you got to go for permits. Very simply, and everybody knows a 10 by 10 shed is just that's what it is. That being said, or my question then is, what are we supposed to be doing as a board? There's an enforcement portion of this, and then there's the consideration of the variance, and do we pretend it never happened?
Well, we have to take it. We have to assume in situations like this that it's not built. Like, what would we do if this was not built? We'd have a garage there, and we have a shed there. The shed, in my view, is an easier call than the garage. The garage would, the question is, would the 3 proposed parking spaces make up for the loss of the garage / expansion of the family room on the first floor? The reasons that we've heard for that are pretty much personal reasons for the larger family, for Mr. and Mrs. Stoddard to try to remain on one floor as much as possible, larger family room for 7 people. That's the main reason. It is personal, which doesn't mean it's totally improper. Whatever this board does, in the event this board ultimately approves this application, one of the major conditions is going to be, between now and the time this board memorializes this or votes on it, the proper inspections need to be made with regard to the construction. Maybe everything is fine, given the fact that Mr. Stoddard's in the trades. Maybe it's not, but that would have to be verified that everything down there is up to snuff. So it's basically, did you hear enough with regard to the shed to grant relief, given the possibility of a miscue? A mistake, and then did you hear enough as far as the expanded living space? It is there. The work was done. The work has to be inspected regardless, unless this board says no. We're not going to approve this. Then it's up to code enforcement, not us, to see that that wall is put back and the garage is reinstated. that's not up to us. That's, we can only issue this based on what we've heard.
So,
to be fair, there was testimony about there were other areas, I think, on this property where an addition could have been built without variances. That's a factor. I mean, this is a pretty decent sized lot. The house is situated in such a way that it's not awkward. Someone could go up and back. They would need to do something probably with that concrete deck. So that's doable, and I think that came out during the hearing. So it's not as though this situation was the only one that would fly to expand the living space in the house. That's on a negative side. But you're not bound because it's done. It's unfortunate that we're here. It puts everybody in a very difficult spot. It puts the applicant in a difficult spot because they're now living with this, and it puts us in a spot because we're asked to approve something that's been done, and there may or may not be legal reasons for it. There may be practical reasons, but
Because the fact that there's this condition, this garage renovation or elimination is something that's seen not only on Brasser, a couple doors down, there's quite a few, but throughout town. And I don't see the garage itself being closed causing the variance, from what I understand, really. And I think if it came in front of the board before it was built, it's the shed that's the clear-cut variance.
The shed's a clear-cut variance. The garage, I believe, Kevin, correct me, is because they're removing a garage. And in this zone, a garage is required for a car.
Right, the garage is required for all single-family homes.
Yeah, so getting rid of the garage creates the variance. So if they hadn't done this, our view would be, okay, have we heard enough to say, fine, take the garage out and make an expanded family room? They've done it already, so it's...
So a question for you, and again, not to infer my position, but is this a vote up or down for the application in its entirety, or can the two variances be separated and one approved and the other not approved?
Yes, the two variances can be separated. The shed could be dealt with, I would assume, relatively cleanly. You can deal with the shed, you can deal with the garage separately. There would be probably two votes on that. This is not a package deal because one seems to be totally removed from the other. But yes, you can deal with the shed, Kevin, unless you have a different perspective from a planning point of view.
I agree with council.
You could deal with the shed and then deal with the garage issue in terms of. But we haven't heard anything about other homes on the street, whether...
There is one directly next to it that has no garage.
Has no garage, okay.
Well, I think it's in if anyone read Mr. O'Brien's report, you would know exactly what it says to that.
Factor in, but we haven't heard, this hasn't been the typical variance presentation.
Well, I'm just gonna read it if you
Yes.
don't mind. So it says, under the garage required, it says, with the exception of the home immediately east of the Stoddard property, all of the other 18 homes on Brasser have garages. The applicant proposes a change to the character of the neighborhood. Is the board concerned by this change? Each application to the board is judged by its own unique circumstances, but a savvy applicant could look to other examples of non-conformity. So it's something to consider.
The garage is getting converted into living spaces has ebbed and tide over the years in Kenilworth, as far as it's been made a large deal at times, and I know there was a couple of times that it was getting clamped down. People were just doing it.
Right. Well, I mean, again, from my perspective, Mr. Grimaldi, is the timing is everything, in that the number of cars that people have these days is significantly greater, and I'm sure each of us has driven through the borough and found front yards that are now just cement or pavers or whatever, and so it's just an entire parking lot in front of. So
there's a lovely example right on the board.
Yes, there is. So anyway, again, that's not necessarily to, state whether this should be considered or not, but anyway, it is something that I have concern for.
It changes, it does.
Can,
The view and the look and the character of the properties. I'm sorry.
No, I interpreted it. I apologize. Can we split this apart?
Yes, we should.
Well, I mean, at this, I'm just letting everybody kind of express their concerns, and then I'll open up for a motion to either approve or deny the application, and whatever the motion is.
When we
gonna
get
be
down to it, we could probably we'll take maybe the shed first, and you can talk about that and go yay or nay.
So you're saying that we should split them apart
Yeah.
up front?
I think, because they're so divergent and
I would make a motion to split them apart.
okay.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? So motion made by Mr. Grimaldi, seconded by Mr. Ladali, and everyone
I would
was in
also
favor,
then
so-
make a motion to approve the pre-existing shed due to the circumstances given testimony at this trial, courtroom tonight. As long as it does get inspected and it appears to be, and the setback and everything else, with our township officials feel it's fine.
Okay, I would like this second up.
Well, both seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion made by Mr. Grimaldi on the approval of the shed variance, and a second by Mr. Pantina. How about, should we move forward with the roll call on that?
I would, let's deal with the vote on
Very
that.
good, then let's take a roll call on the shed.
Shilkey,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Capari,
Yes.
Grimaldi,
Yes.
Pantina,
Yes.
Ladowdy,
Yes.
Colillo,
Yes.
Fazio,
No.
Jones,
Yes.
Okay, that's 8-1. The variance with regard to the shed it passes. So
Correct.
that's in the bank for them. Okay. Then we should turn to the issue of the loss of the garage, and how that.
Right, so is anyone willing to put a motion on the floor for either to approve or deny the garage variance?
And why? If you
Can we talk about this a little more? or can we- Sorry.
Please. Go ahead, Mr. Perry.
Look, I don't like how this is being done. I don't think any of us do. But I do, in my mind, sometimes I do look at it like, you do what you want with your space. Just hold on, let me finish. And I understand that, but then there's, quality codes and things like that. We don't want to encourage, a lot of things. We want to keep quality in the neighborhood. I'm reading here where it says, okay, I was thinking to myself, why do we have this ordinance? Why do we have this garage? Why do you have to have a garage in this house? And then, among the reasons is to make sure each property has sufficient parking for its residents and not rely on the public street. So, I'm not sure if if you're gonna make some sort of decision, you could say, well, maybe these 3 spots are kind of accommodating for at least that portion of the reason why we're doing it. And then, that's as far as I've gotten so far. I'm not sure about I've seen a number of these in other places. I don't want to encourage something that isn't, especially if it's already been as built. But I understand sometimes people need space, and for them it's better utilization. They should have come here first, and we could have had this discussion. And it's a little frustrating to me because this is happening after. So that's all I'm saying.
And I have, again, discussion, not anything. So in light of what we've heard in testimony, there's a lot of question marks. Don't take it the wrong way, but from the beginning of the timeline, it was vacant. What was going on? What did it look like? We have testimony from the applicant and the owner. What did it look like? What condition was it in? There wasn't any kind of inspection by the fire department or building code when it was done. And the owner did certain improvements at the time, even before the conversion was done, to just what was there. Again, no CO, no inspection, no, was it done building code? Okay, we're all in the building, we're in the construction trade, but nothing was really checked, sounds like, so to speak. And then the conversion was done. Again, no permits, no inspections, no oversight from the borough. And then even as to how we got here, and, with the parking spots, and with the other one being right up the side of it, and with the, I don't think it really had too much play in it, but the fact about the water and stuff like that. It just seems that even if you come up to speed, okay, it's there now. We don't even know if it's the code. We don't know if anything's the code. We don't know if it was the code before he bought it. We surely don't know if it's the code now. Aside from the fact that, you need the variance. Completely aside from the fact that you need the variance. The fact that you need the variance, again, there's no hardship, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. But there's a lot of question marks, and I don't know how. It's a tough decision for the board. That's my.
Well, someone has to establish, right, either a motion to approve or deny.
I'd like to ask one more question. Sure. Mr. Attorney, if this gets approved, it gets approved. If it gets denied, or the applicant stated that they do, down the road, want to do some more work on the house, are we able to put something in the resolution and maybe give them a little bit of time so there's no enforcement immediately? We say, hey, you know what, we'd like you, building department, to give them a year to rectify things and do your second floor addition?
I was thinking about that a bit when I heard during the discussions earlier. If the applicant said, okay, within 6 months, I'm going to start on another bedroom or two upstairs, then I think a way to split the baby would be to say, okay, we're going to deny your either approve it for a 6-month time frame, which is kind of awkward, or we're going to deny it. However, we strongly recommend, because we're not in charge of enforcement, we strongly recommend that no enforcement commence until such time as the appropriate addition is ready.
Personally, I would caution against that. To me, it should either be a straight up approval or a straight up denial.
Or just
anything else.
It's not clean.
Give someone a 6-month approval, it'll be further built and utilized, and if the board at that time says it has to come out, it'll be all the more difficult.
But it had to be discussed, because
no, I understand.
One could see a middle ground, but
along that thought, though, if say someone moved to approve it with the condition that when and if, no time frame, any type of building permit application, whatever is done to add to it, a garage must be added at that time, or should be brought up.
Or the space shall be reconverted to a garage.
Something along those
I've
lines.
been involved in cases where that's done, especially if the applicant agrees to it.
Right.
There's no time limit, though. It would be something along the lines of in the event.
It would live with the house. If he sells it, then someone else comes that doesn't like this configuration. It's not really good. You have this big open room on the first floor.
It had to be phrased along the lines of when and if there is an addition to the house, which you could do, I think, without a variance, maybe. I'm sure you could. I don't know about lot coverage, but when and if, then at such time as the appropriate permits are issued to make those bedrooms habitable, the garage shall be immediately, or the former garage space shall be immediately converted back to garage space. There's an enforcement issue. So long as Bob or someone tracks that, if someone comes in a year from now or 6 months from now for a building permit to add on, then someone in Bob's office is going to have to remember that's one of the conditions. That's another way, that's a way of doing it. Because you wouldn't want to have both. You wouldn't want to have that garage to be permanently taken away if they add on anyway.
And on the flip side, what happens if we deny it? What is the enforcement on something like this?
We then zoning and construction enforce that. They basically indicate to the applicant that the space has to be reconverted, and in the event it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, then there would be, I'm assuming, Bob, it would be sent to the municipal prosecutor and it'd go to municipal court? Court, yeah. So it's that kind of an approach. We don't get involved in that.
If we don't get involved in that, again, just another point, whichever way the board goes, is it understood that, and I guess if we go on denial with more caveats, but is it understood that whichever way the board goes, A or nay, this property has to be inspected by all the code officials in the town, like now, later, whatever?
I mean, no matter which way, whether it's approved or denied, I think it has to be because
if it's approved, even if it's denied, it's not going to be, they could file an appeal, they could stretch it out, maybe. But I think even if it's denied, assuming someone's going to live there for another couple of months while things are happening, it should be checked out in terms of fire. There was a mention of mold, fumes,
there was mention of mold,
electric. So either way it should be checked out, just to make sure it's safe and habitable, especially with kids.
We really shouldn't ask them any more questions at this point, or can we still ask them?
No, the hearing has been closed.
This is not
their chance.
This is why they pay you guys a good money.
Exactly. It's time to make a determination.
Can we go back to that where we were talking about the approval with the condition like you were talking about? I want to attach Mr. Bazio was talking about how it lives with the house.
The approvals are given to the property.
You can't buy or sell a house without a CO, everybody knows that.
Correct.
So I'm saying you put that on there now, you can't get a CO. No, you can't actually, but the truth is, so what I meant to say is,
or you could put a condition.
You can put it on there, you can't sell a house, you can't,
you could put a condition.
Get a loan, all that stuff.
You could put a condition on that, because the variance runs the land. We're giving the variance to the land, not the individuals, which is why it's, when we hear about medical issues, it sort of doesn't play in. There could be a condition, if you approved it, that in the event of a resale, that the resolution would be recorded in the county clerk's office, in Union County Clerk's office. In the event of a resale, there would be a title search, and the condition would be that whoever buys this in the future would have to reconvert that part, what was the garage would have to be made a garage again. So anyone buying it would know that they're not going to have this big family room with a basement. It's going to have to be put back. And if they want relief, then they come back.
And we could also put to that, though, any construction on the property or any improvements on the property?
Well, I'm assuming it would be related, would it be related to like adding a bedroom?
Well, I don't know why we keep saying bedroom, because we're taking away living space, not bedrooms. Their bedrooms are there right now. If we put the garage, if we denied this and the garage came back, we're taking away living space.
Yes.
You were asking some questions, and I was following your train of thought. The sleeping quarters are upstairs.
Yes.
And the typical split of this nature that are all over Kenilworth, it's bang, 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 and there's the three.
Up, down, and yeah.
Yeah, they're there. They're upstairs. They already have a rear addition right now that I guess, because we don't have the rest of the building, we have a rear addition off this split that is most likely a dining room. The dining room extension off the kitchen. So up on the main level, there is a large living area. There's a living room, an extended dining room, and most likely, since the kitchen is open to these spaces.
And then the bedrooms upstairs.
And then you walk by and you go upstairs to the bathroom and 3 bedrooms. So if they had bedrooms, well, yeah, they need to add bedrooms because they already have a tremendous amount of living space. They don't have any bedrooms. They have a tremendous amount of living space. So if they came back for a second floor addition to add bedrooms, well, again, I'm saying, that's why I was saying any addition, because
should put the garage back.
Suppose they want to add,
whatever they come back
a bathroom, a 5x5 foot bathroom. I mean, when you say any addition,
a 5x5 bathroom, you're not going to put an addition on for a 5x5 bathroom. That would make economic sense.
The question is, for any building permit application or something specific, is what you're getting at?
Any square footage increase.
I don't like that.
I mean, if they have to change a window, you don't lose your garage because you got to change
any square footage to the footprint of the...
No, square footage increase, because it could be upstairs, it could be downstairs.
Got it. Kevin, your thoughts? I mean...
Square peg, round hole.
It's certainly doable.
So a condition, one of the conditions would be upon the sale of the house. Another would be if there's any square footage increase, assuming that would be either vertically or horizontally, then the garage would go back to what it was. Or that space would go back to the garage.
Yes.
Not any addition to floor area.
Not any building permit, again, if he has to change a window.
Right.
Yes.
That's not a...
But
additional square footage.
Any additional square footage, no matter what level it's on.
You might want to use the term floor area.
Any additional floor area.
What would the sale of the house have to do with anything?
Well, he's saying that he can...
It would be to alert... I mean, if the way the board's looking at this now...
But that won't trigger...
Well,
just the sale of the house wouldn't trigger...
Well, when they sell the house,
No, see, the thing is,
they'll advertise
the
it.
primary reason given to us tonight to do this, or to affirm this, was a personal plea because of physical ailments. I'm saying if a young couple, healthy couple in their 30s with a couple of children buy this house 5 years down the road, do we want them to know that when we granted the garage, the expanded living space, meaning getting rid of the garage, we meant that for this situation, not for their situation, or do we just want to leave it alone? I mean.
I personally think that burdens the new homeowner. That's my.
That's the point. That's the whole point of it.
Well, the point would be,
As long as when you're advertising, you're saying you got to build a garage.
Do you want that garage to re-exist?
I'm with you.
Yeah, we're getting a little, okay.
And
so-
by that scenario, that you just mentioned about the new homeowner, we also, I agree with you on that. By that scenario, we're basically allowing this variance on a personal hardship.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, bottom line, that's exactly that scenario that you just mentioned.
I've been involved in
I'm
those
just saying.
before, some real heartbreakers. Not like this. I mean, this, they're saying that they're elderly and they want to keep it on one floor. I've been involved in situations where there have been severe medical issues where a board has approved it and made it very personal, and they said, when this situation is no longer in existence, that gets converted back, and the applicant say, fine, but that's not what this is. But that's the way to give relief, but give personal relief, but no further. And it's doable under the right circumstances. But the only thing I'm hearing now is if it's granted any additional floor area, then the garage goes back into existence, or
I'll do this. I'll make a motion to deny this application on a number of reasons. The property is not the standard Kenilworth 50 by 100, very tight lot. There's property available to it. The homeowner had opportunity and walked into this with his eyes open, looking at the property, was in the business, could figure out what needed to get done before, significant piece, before the property was purchased. Could have came into the economic realization at that point whether it was the house to buy or not for his personal situation. It's an addition, just looking at it, an addition should be very feasible to go off the back of this property to give them more, as one would say, public living space in the house. From the sounds of it, and this is not us to make a judgment, it sounds like it would need more bedrooms than public living space, but they could be added. But and Mr. Pantina also brought it up, that the property doesn't have a hardship that's connected with it. There's enough property, a number of things have been added to the property. I think we have to have conditions that the property gets inspected completely. The homeowner testified that there was mold in the building. We have 7 individuals living in here. Should be verified, maybe an air test. I'll leave that to the construction code officials to mention.
Mr. Brown's report.
Yeah, did you mention the other homes that Kevin brought out that have garages?
That's in the
neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, there's only one on the block that doesn't. I mean, I walk my dog enough to know that there's a ton of these around, but yes, there's 18 of them on, Brazier's a winding street. It could get filled up quickly, as when we were driving by the site to look at it, I had to wait for a truck and a trailer to go by, and I had to park to come on through to, let the people pass. And that's the nature of this area, the spaghetti streets, as we call them in town. There's not a ton of off-street, there's not a ton of street parking available to these homes.
Okay, there's a motion. Is anyone willing to second the motion?
I second it.
Motions to deny with the inspection provision. So a yes is to deny, a no is to not deny.
Right.
Just so we're clear.
Okay. We have a roll call.
Okay. Shelkey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Capari?
Yes.
Grimaldi?
Yes.
Pantina?
Yes.
Lombardi?
Yes.
Colella?
Yes.
Mazzio?
Yes.
And Jones?
No.
So I will do a resolution approving the shed variance and denying the garage variance.
Okay. Mr. Mascotter, I'm sure you just heard your application for the removal of the garage has been denied. Your variance for the retaining the shed has been approved. And you'll get a resolution. Resolution will be memorialized at our meeting next month. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Moving on. Does anyone have any comments for the good of the board, on the board? Anyone? Okay. Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Make motions.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Capari. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pantino. All in favor? Okay, I now open the meeting to the public. If there's anyone out there who would like to come forward and state your name and record for the, state your name and address for the record. Yeah, I mean, other than the application, correct. This is for any other matters before the board. Please do so. Okay. Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion of the meeting. Motion. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Jones, do I have a second by Mr. Ladati. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. I guess at this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion. Motion by Mr. Jones, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Pantino. All in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? So carried. Motion, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.